Welcome to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Cavan, and today we are joined by one of my favorite people. She is a trusted advisor, she's a progress expert, a speaker, an author, and she champions small business success. I love that about her. And the other thing I love about her is that she is on fire with her passion and her purpose. And she is the founder of Realize Your Vision and the founder of Stuck Sucks Movement. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. But it's where small business success is the catalyst for positive global impact. Please help me welcome Sheila Andres to the studio.
Yes, so excited.
So fun. Thank you for being here. Sheila and I connected through the International Speaker Network. And as soon as we connected, there was like this spark. It just sparked conversation and connection. Her energy is amazing. I knew she was somebody I wanted to bring on the show, and you are going to love her as much as I do. So thank you.
No, thank you for allowing me to be here. And I'll tell you, meeting people like you, Stephanie, where there's just that instant connection, you just feel so soulfully bonded. It's so undeniable. Like, I just want to package you. And I'm sure you get this all the time. But your intro just made me sound so hot and sexy. And if I could just bottle your voice and your whole presence, I would take you with me because you are.
I would go.
Yeah. You're magic in a bottle, girl. Okay.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. So you are like doing amazing stuff out there in the world, helping business owners, really making an impact. But did it always look like that for you? Like, what started your journey for you?
You know, I feel like everyone has this one moment where they just hit a crossroad. You know, we're doing everything that people have told us to do in our lives, what we should be doing, but I don't know if there is really a mechanism or a process that supports us to see ourselves and to really discover who we are and what we're called to do. And it took me more than 2 decades to get to a place where I finally just stayed open and asked the question, you know, am I doing what really brings me joy? You know, if I wake up every day, do I feel completely aligned? Am I excited to start the day? And I think that crossroad, however it is for anybody else, but for me, I just found myself exactly as I had shared. I was waking up and I did not want to receive the day. I did not want to go to the job. I did not want to do the things that I was doing. Now, don't get me wrong. I had amazing people in my life. I loved what I was doing, but there was just always something missing. And then there's that tugging, that call for more, you know? And you're sitting there going, what in the world am I responding to here? What keeps poking at my heart, tapping on my shoulder, that just, no matter what you do, doesn't go away? And so I want to bring that really to the forefront because I think as a trusted advisor, progress expert, I'm a coach and consultant. And so I have this beautiful opportunity to meet some amazing people and witness their truth, you know, and in their own way, they're coming up going, I want more. I want more. And I really just try to dive in to support them to go, what does that really mean for you?
And a lot of us don't know, right? We do know that we want more, but we don't know exactly what that looks like, or what we don't have a clear vision of what we want. And so that really goes to the title of your business, Realize Your Vision. And it really, you help people kind of really get clear on who they are and what they want.
Yes.
There's a thing that I want to talk about, which is the Stuck Sucks movement. Can you go into that a little bit?
Oh, I would love to, you know, because it's crazy. I had invested in coaching too, I'm navigating a space that I've never traversed before. And it really occurred to me that we are all doing that. Especially when we decide I'm going to be an entrepreneur and we decide to answer this call through an entrepreneurial journey. We think that, oh, this will help us. And we think we know what our success is. It always starts with tangible things. And I'm not diminishing it. More money, the house, the finances, so we can find that freedom. But the truth is, I think from a deeper, deeper level, this vision of success that we look at, we see in so many ways, kind of the surface level, is the best way I could describe it, right? The tangible things and what we're doing. But when we take a step back, it's like when we see ourselves in that place of success, what is it? What I'm finding is people want to find their peace again, what that joy really looks like. And I think that when we align ourselves more with our truth, and by that I'm saying, I think each one of us, we're so unique. There's no one else like you in the whole wide world. And I think that we're all created for something really specific. And until we're aligned with that truth and that purpose, you don't fully feel successful, because we're not in our own skin. So it's really supporting people to find what that alignment really is for you, what that purpose, what that impact is. And then when you start to really connect with that, all the other things start to kind of fall in place and it makes it easier. But that stuck sucks. It's crazy. I met a coach and I was at this event one time. Asian man on stage talking about a movement. And I remember sitting there, there's people all around me, but I felt like there was this bubble that started to encapsulate me. And I know I wasn't alone, but it was like enveloping me so that I was really in my own self and in my thoughts and in my heart. And I was thinking, what am I doing here? Why am I listening to somebody talk about a movement? I'm not Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa. It felt so big and I was so uncomfortable. But fast forward, it really ignited something in my heart and soul. And it was like, you got to name a movement. Now, I'm not out there to create this, but I feel like I'm 10 people in one. And I want to cheer squad all those that said yes to being an entrepreneur. And that little anthem or theme is that stuck sucks, because girl, we get stuck more often than we realize or are willing to admit. And when we get to that place, no matter how small or big, and if it's continuous, it freaking sucks. It sucks. So if we could get to a place of really honesty and admit we're stuck in some form or capacity, and it sucks, can that really just drive you forward to discover, what does commitment look like? What is it, if you really are feeling horrible in the space and in what you're doing, but where's the will for you to sit there and go, I'm not having this? Where can I find that place of happiness, of fulfillment, of peace, of joy, of abundance, and freedom? So that stuck sucks really is what's driving that. And in my own journey and witnessing others, yes, being stuck is real. And I think the minute that we could sit there and just admit it, change, it's going to ignite beautiful, amazing, and necessary change in order for us to achieve the success that we desire. And I'll tell you, that's what I tell everybody. When they come into this journey, we all talk about the journey. Then we think, oh, we got to get a business license. We got to figure out what we want to offer people. How do we connect, and all those things, which is really important to business, but no one ever tells us, when you said yes, do you know that you have to change? And I say this specifically to those that are entrepreneurs. In order for you to achieve the success you desire, you have to become this version of yourself that could give you that success. So if you want to know why it feels like a major roller coaster, well, let me tell you, life is up and down. But it feels like the entrepreneurial journey, it's more acute. It's more acute. You become acutely aware mentally, emotionally, physically of blocks or things that don't serve you. And if you can find the courage to really face that in some form or fashion, there's a whole lot of stuff going on in there.
Truth. Oh my gosh. I remember one of the biggest stuck marshes for me that we used to just get stuck in for long periods of time is that feeling, that competition feeling, that feeling like you're always not quite good enough, you're not quite ready, you have to be perfect. Like, I was really resistant about going on video, just things that kept me kind of stuck in that not enough headspace, not enoughness. So, what would you say to somebody who might be struggling with feeling like they're just not enough in some way, not smart enough, not successful enough, not whatever, insert the blank enough?
Yeah, yeah. You know, off the cuff, I think the first thing was going to say, there is nothing wrong with you. It's completely normal. And I'm actually going to drop a mic in this and call it out and say, I think everyone, everyone goes through it. If they allow themselves to really say, I am greater than who I'm being now. I know I'm meant for more. And if you really allow yourself to embrace that, and I think that's a huge act of love to say, I'm meant for more, and I know I could be doing more. And then give yourself whatever grace, permission to sit there and go, what is preventing me from being more? And I think all the things that you talked about, I just felt like, Stephanie, stop talking about me. I know you were hitting on a personal experience, but I was like, okay, here's another affirmation or validation as to why I think you and I are soul sisters. Because everything that you said was something that I had gone through, and I felt like I don't have to repeat it because she said it as if I would say it myself. And I think that there are things that we all go through having to deal with a sense of unworthiness, this comparison syndrome where I don't know why we do it and allow things to rob us of our joy. Your thing about visibility. My gosh, Stephanie, at this juncture in my life, and we're not going to go there about the age, maybe that'll be another episode, very personal. But I look back going, after all these years that I've been alive, I'm like, I think I'm out there, very energetic, extroverted, but also deeply introverted as well, because I need a lot of space to rejuvenate. And I think that when it comes to service, I show up. But it just dawned on me that there is a part of myself that I'm still hiding from the world, and we're scared and fearful of rejection, whether people will accept us. That's leaning into codependency, people pleasing things. And I feel like at some form or fashion in this journey, we're going to be forced to face all of those things. And I hate to say this, but this is a hard truth because I think it's a reality in the journey of not just business, but in life. We're going to face it multiple times. And you know why? Because let's say in this moment, this is who we are. We fast forward 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. We're not going to be the same person as we are today. And the things that we're dealing with now and the things that we're dealing with in the future in ourselves is going to be different. And you have to trust that between now and then, we have grown in some form or fashion. We've gained some experience. We've become a little bit more expert. Then suddenly a situation comes up and we're like, oh my gosh, my comparison, is getting triggered. My inner critic and negative Nelly is freaking on fire. Where did you come up? And we thought that before, when we think about it, there's a familiarity. I thought I just overcome this already. And why is it creeping up again? And I think that the reason why it does that is because we're different. The circumstances that have come up is different. We've up leveled in some sense. You have to, just trust that you've grown. And now all the things that try to keep us small, dim our light, hold us back from our greatness is trying to fight for authority and show up again. And so now we have to take what we've learned to figure out how to either kick it in the taco, move it out of the way,
Right.
shove it to the side, and we got to figure out how to remove its authority from us so that it doesn't get in our way anymore.
That is so powerful. And you said something a minute ago about it's an act of love when you give yourself permission to just kind of see where you're at and kind of become aware of your surroundings and maybe face those things. It really is an act of love. But one thing I know I've struggled with as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure I'm not alone on this, is making self love a priority. How important would you say that loving yourself is when you're, especially when you're an entrepreneur? And I mean, anybody and doing anything, but specifically for this conversation purposes, we're talking to entrepreneurs mostly. I feel like I know I wasn't, and I know a lot of others just don't set the time, don't make the time, don't prioritize their own self care. And how important is that in your journey and with what you teach others?
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to start really high level. You know, we have a life. We only have one life to live. And when we're called to become an entrepreneur, we think, oh, that's a separate journey from our own personal life. I'm like, let me tell you right now, it's not. We don't fit life into business. If we decided to either be an accountant, a doctor, that's our career, but now we decided to become a business owner. The entrepreneurial journey is part of life. But when I talk about the journey, I want to touch on that because I think it's really important. I really, really respect platforms like this because it allows me to share what I've discovered about the journey. And I want every single entrepreneur to know this because I didn't. And I realized what is going on in here that's preventing me from really achieving the results that I desire. Because I worked in the corporate space and I'm so used to grabbing a bull by the horn and taking it to the finish line. You know, anything that you give to me, as much as how big the mountain is, we're able to overcome. But when I look back, those things that we had to deal with, I had never done before. So how is it that I was able to overcome? And now that I'm on my own, why is it even more harder? And so it made me really deep dive in my own personal journey to reflect and to witness what other people were going through. And I think it's important for everyone to know if you want to decide to become a business owner, you're a business owner now, what this journey really entails and what you said yes to. And there's three, I would call pillars. One, it's a journey of change. As I said, success, you cannot achieve it without change because again, in order for you to achieve the success you desire, you have to become this version of yourself that could give you that success. And we can unpack that. The second thing is it's a journey of discovery, self-discovery and rediscovery, because you're going to start to discover things about yourself that maybe you fully didn't realize, you weren't aware, you weren't mindful enough to know. And there's blinders on. Excuse me. So the self-discovery, let's say, for example, you have to do marketing and you never did marketing before. You're like, I'm not creative. I think marketing requires you to be creative. But as a business owner, you've got to go and do marketing. So you start to dabble in it, maybe do a little design work, start writing things out, and you discover, gosh, I'm actually really good at being a wordsmith. Or I love creating, and you never thought you were creative. So now you just self-discovered something about yourself you didn't know. Discovery. Do you know how many times I had a conversation with people where they're in this moment, we're addressing something. I don't like sales. I'm not good at it. And truth be told, they go back and go, when I was 10, I used to pick up different things Excuse me. Excuse me. I used to create things and go door to door and sell them. And they sold. They were selling. So now in this moment as an adult, they're rediscovering parts of who they truly are that they may have suppressed, dimmed, set aside because they thought it's not important. Or something in life happened and they said, I have to stop this. It's not worth my time and energy. And now it needs to come back to the forefront. So you're discovering. And the last thing, yeah, I say it's a journey of love. Now, some people might go, oh, she's going to get mushy. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I am. Because it actually can move mountains. And I'm going to say something really bold. But I think when we think of love, we have this understanding or impression of what it is. But it's so much more. Love is a value in my business. And I define it as the catalyst to everything. So if you're at a crossroad and you're like, there's something more, and you decide, I'm going to go after it. Doesn't that feel like a huge act of love? Not just for yourself, because you're like, if I do this, I can have a more joyful, fulfilling life. But when you go after it as well, recognize you've got these amazing gifts and talents. And when you do that, you're going to share it with the world. So what an act of love is that to now bring that to others? When you freaking make a mistake and we start beating ourselves up, you screwed up. See, do you know what you're doing? What in the world makes you think that you are capable of becoming this successful business owner? All of that. Can you imagine allowing yourself to figure out and realize, why am I so hard and abusive? How can I show myself kindness and compassion? Doesn't that feel like an act of love? Now, for heart-centered people, we want to love on people. I want to love on people. How the heck are we supposed to love on people if we can't even figure out how to show ourselves love? So we could show other people kindness and compassion. But let's not step into the hypocritical, bucket and turn around and go, we can't even do that for ourselves. But I think that when we can discover what it might feel, look like, act like to show kindness and compassion, for example, we empower ourselves to really be able to pour more of that onto others. And when we make a mistake, to sit there and tell ourselves, it's okay. This is the learning. This is how we're going to grow. It may not sound like words of affirmation, but it's flipping and reframing it to something positive. And doesn't that feel like an act of love itself? Being loving to go, yes, my butt hurts. Oh my gosh, I face planted so hard. I ate dirt, and I'm like, let's figure out how to spit this crap out of my mouth. What does it look like and feel like to pick myself up? And when you're doing that in that process, I know for me, it's painful.
Sometimes.
It's painful. It was because we're sitting there going, I'm useless. I can't even do this simple thing. It's like, no. And you're sitting there with all that negative emotion and this weight and this pain in your soul because you're denying that you're better than this. So how do we learn to overcome it? But you got to sit with all that crap.
This is a really good time to ask you for some tips from your own personal growth toolbox. Do you have some tips, tools, or strategies that either you've used or that you share with others when you're coaching them or consulting them? And since we're on the topic of feeling stuck and maybe stuck in that cycle of not loving yourself, is there something you can share with the listeners to help them move from that spot to the next spot?
Absolutely. I sat there and I remembered doing project management and going, why do problems happen? Why do problems happen? And the only way you could solve it is to go down to the root cause of it so that then you can figure out what you need to do, who's going to do it, and maybe when it needs to happen. And when I sat there and took that to reflect, what in the world gets us stuck? And what is it that really is going to move that needle to go from stuck, and I want to say progress? That's why I say I'm a progress expert, because when I'm talking to entrepreneurs, believe it or not, as a trusted business advisor, it's really saying there's this innate ability to create connection and a sense of trust and safety. And when people feel safe and they feel like they can trust you, they start sharing things. And we get past all the fluff. And the truth is, they're stuck in some form or fashion, and they're looking for guidance, advice, support, and next step. And when they get it, guess what? They're taking action again. And they begin to start moving forward. And that's the definition of progress, a constant effort moving forward. So if you're in progress, are you ever really stuck? So when I sat there and reflected back on it, it occurred to me, when you're stuck, there are three things that an entrepreneur needs at the highest level. And the first thing is clarity. Clarity is the foundation of making decisions. And that's the second thing. You need to make a decision. Because without a decision, nothing happens. You're still trying to figure it out. And believe it or not, you need to decide. Because once you've decided, you now know the action or the next steps or what you need to do. And the third thing is support. And the support can come into, what is the strategy? What's the plan? What's the next steps? It could also be, you need some encouragement. You need inspiration, motivation. But it can also be, you need some tough love. And for somebody to tell you when you're getting in your way. So I'm sure people have heard this, but I really want this to land on a deeper, deeper level. And I want to encourage everyone to take a moment that's listening. Do this as a loving act for yourself and for the people that you're meant to serve, and for the gift of life that you have on this earth, to share it, to make an impact. Get into a place of honesty. If it freaks you out, that's okay. I know you've got a pair of big girl panties. Put it on and strap it on tight. And then sit there and say, what's got me stuck and what is it that I need? And it's really this. If you do not have someone, at least someone in your space that you could go to, that you trust, that empathizes, that is in authority, that can guide you and do all those things to give you clarity, to help you make a decision, to know how freaking amazing you are, and encourage you and tell you this is what's getting in the way and this is what you have to work on, but this is the action that you need to take. The truth is then, you are alone. And when you are alone, I think that that is the most poisonous death rattle that you could shake to your success. And when you're alone, without even realizing it, because many of us don't, I could do it this way, I could figure it out. But I want to remind you, you're trying to do something you've never done before. I don't even care if you've been in business for 3 years, and because in that moment, you're still trying to do something you've never done before. You could have been a successful entrepreneur, and now you're launching a secondary, revenue stream. You have never been in this position, successfully created a business, and now wanting to launch another one. And that one little thing creates a whole different landscape that you have to navigate. So the truth is, you're moving forward on a journey. You can anticipate, you could hear what other people are doing, but it's not anything that you personally experienced. So you're in uncharted territory. And if you don't have somebody, coach, consultant, mentor, something in your space, then you are alone. And here's another act of love. Are you worthy enough? Do you know how important you are to the world to share it? That it's like food. It's like the roof over your head. That you are worth investing to get somebody to help support you to become this amazing, greater, better, brilliant version of yourself. So that when you succeed, that ripple effect of prosper, of joy, of happiness, of love permeates. And who cares how far it goes? Who cares if you can't completely measure it? There's some things in this world that is intangible, that is priceless, that you can't measure. But when you touch somebody else's life and make a difference, and it moves them to share their gifts to somebody else, how can you measure that? Do you see what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about. You're worth it. So get yourself a business BFF.
Yes. Oh my God. It's so important. That is that is what changed everything for me, was when I was willing to invest in myself to get somebody to support me, because it's really hard when you're in your own little circle to find friends, relatives, whatever, because if you they kind of want you to stay the same, because
Oh,
as you're moving and they're not moving, it's harder for them to support you in your growth when they're not growing. Um, so I 100% agree with everything you said, and definitely, whether it's finding a mentor or a coach or whatever, or this would be a great time for you to tell people where to go learn more about you so they can connect with you to maybe take them to the next step and help them realize their vision. So where can people go to learn about you, Sheila Andres?
Stephanie, giving you virtual hugs right now. Yeah, for those that are listening, and if this really touches your soul, I want you to sit there and get out of the headspace and follow your heart, because big decisions in life, if you take a moment to really reflect, the decisions that you make doesn't come from your head, it's coming from your heart. And if this resonates, I just want to invite you to come into my space in the playground. Go to realize-yourvision.com. That's REALIZE-YOURVISION.com. There's a place where you could schedule some time with me. And it's not a cavalier thing, because I tell you, I come from a place of love and generosity, and I pour into you. And if you're stuck, getting into a space where somebody empathizes, completely understands what you're going through to help give you what you need is completely priceless. And as another gift, and I know this journey can go up and down, I created this little sheet, simple 3 tips to help manage the entrepreneurial roller coasters, to help you find ease and flow. But if you do a deeper dive, it's really to help you manage the resistance, because let me tell you, it is real. And you could go to realize-yourvision.com /roller coaster and get it. And I
I
hope it
love
serves
that.
you. Thank you.
I love that. And Sheila's links will also be in the description of this interview. So please go check her out. I really want to thank you, Sheila, for joining us today. It's always a pleasure. Our time has flown by, as it always does when we're in conversation. It's like we're just um, so aligned and energetically uh, partnered, is what I want to say. Like, it just feels so natural every time I talk to you that an
It's
hour
flow.
could go by. Seriously, we could be here all day and be like, what? I love it. And so thank you for being here in the Mind Growth Studio with us today. I want to thank the listeners for taking the time out of your day to hang out with us for this mind growing conversation. You've been listening to the Mind Grow Radio Storyteller Series podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Cappen. And please click on Sheila's links and go tune into her brilliance. You will be so glad you did. And until we meet again, keep shining in your brilliance. Bye, everybody.